Enough with Michael Clemens. Enough. Tony Adams on the practice squad of the Canadians.
Hello and welcome into Reality Check here. What is going on? Matt O'Leary joined by my good friend Jets Chaos. Jeremy, how's it going on this Wednesday afternoon?
It's going. It's been nice to have a few days in between the game and me actually being live. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I think that it would not have been well if I would have come on to talk to anybody about this team any sooner than right now.
It might have been a different show if we were on Sunday night at say 7:00 at night. Might have looked a little bit different, I think, here.
It would have been, I would have had a different look, different feel for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into some of the vibes and some of the things that happened in this past week's game against Buffalo. We'll look forward to Tampa Bay as well, but I think we start with the big news of the day. The Jets were back on the practice field on Wednesday for the first time after their game. Justin Fields still in concussion protocol and already ruled out for this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tyrod Taylor named the starting quarterback for this one. What was your reaction to that today, Jeremy?
Not as dramatic as you think. A lot of times you lose your starting quarterback and you're saying, no. It's just kind of like meh. Like the first game that we were at, Fields played so well. And there's like, we dared to dream, like maybe this guy turned a corner. And then last week, he kind of reminded us of pretty much what the whole issue with his career has been. It's not the issue was that he wasn't capable of looking good for a football game or for plays and doing amazing things. It's about the word consistency. And, week 2 is the reminder of what the problem with Justin Fields' career has been. It's just, he's just not consistent. He can't put it together, week after week after week. And that often happens when you're a one-read quarterback and other teams figure out how to stop an RPO one-read quarterback from succeeding. And when he puts you, and when the only solution to that is to be able to drop back and actually go through progressions, if the quarterback can't do it, that's going to be an issue. And he's proven to this point of his career that he cannot do it. So when you tell me what's my reaction to Tyrod playing, at least we have a quarterback that is able to do that. I don't know that he does it at a great level. There's a reason he's been a backup quarterback is pretty much his whole career, but he certainly does it better than Justin Fields. Not the running, not the RPO, not that part of it, but the actual, if you need a quarterback to drop back 3 steps and go through progressions, there's no question that we have a better quarterback at doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the offense is going to look a lot different this week. They'll still try to run the ball a lot against a defense that's pretty good stopping the run, man. Todd Bowles, if you could give him any credit, he usually has his defenses ready to go to stop the run. But I think we'll see some more shots down the field. Not that, we didn't see that with Justin Fields in week 1. He had that long touchdown to Garrett Wilson. But you mentioned the word consistency, and unfortunately with Justin, we saw both sides of the spectrum in the first 2 games. We saw what it could look like at its peak, and at its peak, it was really fun. 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards passing, 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground, the whole thing. And then last week was just missing easy throws. And, I think it's a fair criticism to point out that he can't go through progressions well. But for me, it wasn't even the progressions. It was the accuracy and the ball placement that he had, numerous examples. First drive on 3rd down, missed Garrett Wilson for a big one. It would have been like 25, 30 yards down the field, threw it too high. Had Isaiah Davis open in the flat, which would have turned into a big game, threw it behind him. Next play, Mason Taylor over the middle of the field, throws it too high. and, finishes 3 of 11 and a QBR of 1.1. Just, again, polar opposite kind of games that we saw from Justin Fields. And with Tyrod, I don't think the ceiling is as high with Justin Fields, but the floor is significantly higher with Tyrod. I totally would expect him to come in and just be your prototypical game manager that you're okay with as a spot starter.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it right. It's like Tyrod has the higher floor. Justin Fields has the higher ceiling because of what he could do with his legs and everything. And when he plays well, we saw what he could do. It looks pretty special. I don't think you could have had Tyrod do what Justin Fields did week one. Week one, there's no way Tyrod could have done what Justin Fields did. It just would not have happened. We saw it. We saw how many times he avoided sacks. He was elusive. He was accurate. He made good decisions. Athletically, he did things that Tyrod doesn't do. And then against Buffalo, you could make the argument that the way they played us and the way Fields played, we would have been much better off with Tyrod because Fields wasn't doing the things he did week one because he's not consistent. And then here we go against Tampa. You got a defensive coordinator type coach in Bowles. We all know that he was a good coordinator. Not so much a great coach for us, but okay in Tampa. He's going to do the same thing Buffalo did. It's going to be more of the same, right? The first thing he's going to do is obviously everybody learned from week one. Don't let the Jets run the ball. Do everything you can to stop it. Make the quarterback beat you. In this case, in this moment, Tyrod might be the better option, but to do that because he is a veteran. He's a very different quarterback than Justin Fields. But the downside of that is we're going to go back to Fields. No matter what Tyrod does, we're going back to Fields because he has the higher ceiling, like we said. And at some point we two things have to happen. Fields he can't have these weeks. He has to be more consistent like he was week one. And also he has to develop as doing more than one read. He has to develop. The whole idea was the only way he's going to ever be the answer is if he evolves. He's not going to be the answer being what he's been.
Yeah, you're right. And, who knows? Maybe he sits down for a week or two and that helps for the rest of the year. I agree with you. I don't necessarily think this is, hey, Tyrod's going to come out and be the quarterback the next 15 games. I get, if they start winning and he's putting up numbers, maybe that's a different story. But, if he does, maybe they go 1-1 in their next 2 games and, he's throwing for, $180 and a touchdown and you feel like you're in an okay spot. It's more like, hey, Tyrod, you did your job. Let's go back to our starter. But if he's throwing for 300 yards a game and has, 4 or 5 touchdowns in the next 2 games, then maybe a little bit of a different story, especially if they rattle off a couple wins. But I think that's going to be one of the things that I'm interested in is not only just how he plays in this game, but what kind of conversations are we having about Tyrod Taylor after in comparison to Justin Fields and how he's looked in the first 2 games?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird though. It's hard to do a comparison because if you're what have you done for me lately? It's going to be very easy for Tyrod to make people say he should be the quarterback because it's going to almost be impossible to play as bad as Fields did. But at the same time, if you're looking at the whole picture, you'll say, yeah, but he couldn't have done what we did against Pittsburgh. Right? So let's say Tyrod has a great game. We go into the next week and everybody's arguing of who should start. You have to concede both things. Tyrod will never play as bad as Justin played. Right? But Tyrod will never play as well as Justin played against Pittsburgh. I don't mean that by, being able to throw touchdown passes. I mean, what Justin Fields literally did that week one, the things that he did, the running, the elusiveness, the avoiding, saving us, taking away their big plays and turning it into something those kind of things that we know that Tyrod just can't do. That's going to be the controversy after week 3, especially if we win. If we win, oh my God, it's going to be controversy. This fan base, it's going to be a huge fight.
That's kind of what Craig M is saying. Is there any chance Tyrod pulls a 2015 Fitzpatrick? I mean, that year they were going into the season with Geno as their quarterback. In training camp, gets knocked out with a broken jaw. Fitzpatrick, the wily veteran who's been, was a starter at one point, but really kind of more of a backup. He ends up playing really well, and they just miss out on the playoffs, obviously going 10-6. I don't think they have the offensive firepower that that team had. I mean, Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker were playing out of their minds at that point. Both went well over 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns apiece. I love Garrett Wilson, but after that is like who's there? That's also going to be, a problem in the passing attack. But on Tyrod, I don't think he's going to go full 2015 Fitzpatrick. But do I think he could come in for a game or two and keep the ship floating? Yes, I do.
What if it's this team's year's version of it? Meaning, yeah, he's not going to put up the numbers. He doesn't have the same, receivers and all that. But what if this really is asking in the sense that he just replaces them, right? So not that he has Fitzpatrick's statistics, but is there a chance that he's just going to take his job, like that part of it, like end up being the quarterback? It's very hard to see. Like it would take a lot to make them do that because based on the contracts that they signed and what they signed Fields to do, it would be there'd be a lot to that. He's 25 years old. You said all freaking preseason you believe in him. He's getting better every day. It'd be really hard to then turn around and bench him for Tyrod, a guy with absolutely no potential to be better than what we've seen. Like he is what he is, So I don't know. It would be very hard to see them doing that. I think the only way you'd see Tyrod take this job is if he comes in and he plays really well. Then the next week, Justin comes back, plays really bad again. They bring Tyrod in, he does better, and then all of a sudden we have a quarterback controversy.
So we're not going to go full 98 Jets where they start 0-2 and make the switch to the veteran Vinny Testaverde and end up finishing 12-4 and ended up in the AFC Championship game.
I seriously doubt it. I think it would be. I think if Tyrod was to take the job from Justin Fields, it'll be a slower process. It would be he plays really well this week. Gets, a lot of us wait, the buzz, he should be the starter. And then Justin Fields comes back and plays like crap. Right. And then all of a sudden the fans are screaming, bench him, bring in Tyrod. Like that's how it would happen. But if Justin Fields came back and played well, then it would just kind of fizzle away.
Comics and Stuff 2.0 sends a super chat. Thank you for the support. Says, do we see Cook this year? I don't know. I think there would have to be an additional injury. Like, I don't see a chance that Brady Cook is going to be starting games unless they're like, 2-10 at the end of the year. And like one of Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor is hurt. And then one who's ever playing is like really inefficient. They're like, let's just see this guy for a couple games. But I don't necessarily think that's likely to happen.
I mean, look, if Tyrod got hurt, we don't have a choice. But if I think that if Tyrod got hurt and Fields couldn't come back, I think, and let's say in the off week, like Fields and Tyrod are not going to be able to play. I think we'd run out and get somebody possibly, but I don't know if it'd be on time. I don't know. Like when people say who, you pick up Mike White off the practice squad from Cincinnati, like that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And that's just an example, but just picking a guy with experience in the NFL. But the problem is like, if, Tyrod got hurt and then Fields couldn't play, is there enough time? Or is Cook just the better option in that scenario than bringing a guy in off the street, even though he's experienced and thinking he could pick up the system and be able to just step in and play better?
Yeah, it would be it'd be really interesting if it ever got to that point. But I agree with you. I think we're more likely to see them add somebody to their practice. They worked out like CJ Beathard and Nathan Peter, and not that I love those options either, but I wouldn't be surprised if they added another veteran in that situation.
Imagine if we go back to that.
Yeah, where's Trevor Siemian at? What can he do?
Geez, I mean, can you imagine? But I mean, you know what? Fields is out right now. We don't know if he's even going to be ready for next week. Tyrod is made of glass. Like, oh my God, there's the potential that within the next couple of weeks or by next week's game, there's a potential that Cook is our quarterback and we're picking up some guy named Peterman. God, scary stuff. That's really scary stuff.
How about this one from Tampa? John says, if you told me before the season that the Chiefs and Jets would have the same record after week 2, LOL. Yeah, I mean, Kansas City sitting at 0-2, Jets sitting at 0-2. Obviously, Kansas City has a little bit more cachet in the back pocket with all those Super Bowl wins and the deep runs in the playoffs. It is so early in the season, and maybe that's a good segue into something else that I wanted to get into today. I completely understand the fan frustration after this game. They looked horrible. They lost 30-10 to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
It feels like not everyone, but there's a lot of people who have begun to turn on Aaron Glenn, and it's not giving a pass for what happened in week 2, but maybe a hot take, Jeremy. I think you got to give the guy at least a year before you turn on him. I'm not going to turn on him after 2 games.
I think of a lot of successful coaches, and if you judge them by their first 2 games, it would change the history of football. Like if you were able to act after 2 games and, like, let's say, get rid of a coach, or there's absolutely, I mean, look, it wasn't a good look. Obviously, we're not happy about it, right? Like it's like losing to Buffalo is one thing. That performance it's not okay. I think the biggest concern, because if you look at the situation, there was in that situation, in that moment, it was hard for the coaches to do anything. You had a quarterback who couldn't throw a pass. He couldn't see open guys, right? I mean, sometimes in the moment, there's not much you could do as a coach. I think the real question is why is Michael Clemens on this team? Why is Tony Adams still a key starter on this team? Why? Why when we know? Why can't they see what we know? I'm just some guy. I'm a fan. I'm not professional. I've never played at any level of football ever beyond 2-hand touch in Brooklyn. Why do I know that Clemens was a bad idea? Why do I know that Tony Adams was a bad idea? Why do I know that? And this guy who supposedly got trained as a scout, who's an NFL coach, an NFL GM, and they are insisting that these are NFL players. Why? That's my concern. It's not his ability as a coach. I don't care. He took over a shitty team, a losing culture, a horrible locker room, lots of new players. Who cares that Buffalo kicked their ass? They're a Super Bowl contender. That's what you'd expect to happen, right? Because give them a minute. But turn around and now let's talk about personnel. He's still praising Mike Clemens? That's what I heard someone say. He's still praising him? He's still defending him? I mean, at what point do you say, okay, that I'm concerned about? That I'm worried about.
I want to see if I can find the exact quote. We know exactly what we're doing with Mike. The things we're asking him to do, he's doing a good job with that, was the quote. Doesn't give you a lot of confidence. That stinks.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand that now that we're in the season, what's our option? Because we don't have depth at the position. If Michael Clemens doesn't play, who is it? I'm almost ready to say that we should move Briggs over. From what I see, Briggs is our best player,
good.
Right?
Yeah, he's looked really good.
I'm almost saying, well, is Briggs? He's pretty good at getting to the quarterback. He's athletic. He's pretty strong. Can he steal an edge? Because maybe we should move Briggs over. Let Phillips play. So you have Briggs, at edge. You have Phillips in the middle with Quinn, and you have JJ on the other side, and you bring in Will McDonald on passing downs. Maybe that's the better thing. But I don't know. But the only explanation of why Michael Clemens has a job and why Aaron Glenn is trying to stay positive with him and still coach him up is because we don't have an answer. If we don't have him, who do we have? That has to be it. Because it can't be that he's good. It can't be that they're magically seeing what we're clearly seeing is not true. He's not good. He's not a good NFL football player, and he's a dumb one. He has the lowest football IQ I've ever seen, right? Because it's like almost every other game that this guy is in, he finds a way to do something stupid, right?
Yeah, third and 19.
Tony Adams is just a project that nobody wants to give up on that I'll never understand.
Yeah, but it's so strange. It really is. And unfortunately, and not us. I remember talking about this in March, Jeremy, about edge depth. How many weeks in a row do I feel like we talked about Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, someone to bring in to be your third edge, with Jermaine Johnson coming back off an injury, who, by the way, is banged up right now going into week 3. Like, I know no one wants to hear this, and I'm not a Michael Clemens apologist, believe me, but he's going to play a lot this week because it looks like Jermaine Johnson wasn't on the practice field. So they don't really have another choice because the guy they traded up for in the draft, Tyler Barron, is a healthy scratch. And you could argue probably shouldn't have made the roster. Braden McGregor really hasn't done anything either all training camp or the first few games. They don't have anybody else. It's their own fault because they didn't address it at any point before the start of the regular season.
Yeah. It's this, and I understand it takes more than one offseason sometimes if you have a lot of holes and you can only fill in so many spots. But when I saw Clowney, and maybe he didn't want to play for us, I know there's a lot I don't know, but it doesn't feel like maybe we're wrong behind the scenes that we don't know, but it doesn't appear that we made much of an effort. When you see Clowney sign for $3.5 million, and you realize that, to play for Dallas, and you realize that Clemens makes $3.3 million, pretty much the same as Clowney, you kind of say to yourself, but why didn't we just offer Clowney $5 million? And wouldn't he have picked us over Dallas in that situation since we have the cap space for it?
Right.
So a lot of those kind of questions come up, and it's really hard to understand the answer.
And don't tell me, Jadeveon wanted to play for a contender. Because one, he signed with Dallas. And number two, he's made it pretty well known that he just wants to cash in on who's the highest bidder every year.
Yeah, the guy's been a missionary for his whole career pretty much, right? He's a missionary. He goes in for whoever pays him the most money. And yeah, if you wanted to go to a contender, you wouldn't go to the Dallas Cowboys. Give me a break. They're not a contender. Why are we still calling them a contender? They're better than the Jets, but they're not a contender.
No, for $3.5 million, you could cut Clemens for essentially $3.5 million and then be like, hey, you know what? We have this cap space. Here's another million on top of it. Here's $4.5 million. That it's just a little annoying. Like you said, again, guys like us sitting at home watching and doing what we do have these opinions and feel like, we have a pretty good idea that in week one, Xavier Gipson was a problem. Go figure. Week two, Michael Clemens a problem. Go figure. What's Tony Adams going to do this week? What's Alan Lazard going to do? Pick your favorite whipping boy that is going to have some sort of catastrophic mistake to cost him this game against Tampa Bay.
Right. The one thing that seems to be working a little bit, I'm not saying he's a star, he's great or anything, but it's glad that we didn't cut him, is Jeremy Ruckert.
He's good.
Right. The one thing that we said is give the kid a chance with the real coaching staff. He's the one thing that's working out a little bit, showing signs of working out, because at this point, you used a third-round pick on him once. He doesn't cost a lot of money. At this point, if he could at least fill the role of a solid tight end too, like that's something, right? So, but like with Clemens and with Adams, they got rid of Gipson. I mean, we had like 5 problems on this roster. I don't even think Ruckert was the biggest problem. I think that everybody would have agreed Gipson, Clemens, and Adams.
Tony Adams.
Right, those were the 3 big ones. Lazard was probably 4, and Ruckert was probably 5. That was probably in the most unpopular Jets that people would have loved to see go. And I think we got rid of Xavier. Great. Check. But the Clemens thing is just so hard to understand. It's so hard to understand how he's just, they didn't want, like, this guy has had back-breaking penalties that all could be prevented. And what would make Aaron Glenn think I could coach this out of him when clearly nobody's been able to coach it out of him?
One guy we haven't mentioned yet that I think we got to get to, Brandon Stevens. Big contract, signed a 3-year deal, some decent money. I know you were flying, but have you seen the replay of his effort on the James Cook touchdown?
I did see somebody post the effort, and that is just... is there going to be accountability? Because you have AZ Thomas, who actually played better than Stevens. So if that's not if you're mean, because Parcells would have, if he saw that play and he was the coach of this team, Thomas would be starting. And you know that.
No, of course.
There's no question about it. So if he's going to be going to hold the people accountable, because if you're going to hold people accountable, why is Stevens playing? Not only do you have the guy you used a 3rd-round pick on, who was projected to be early 2nd-round pick, not only do you have that guy, but the guy came in and played like minimal snaps, but he played better. So you're not going to get worse or that much worse. I think you have to send a message to the team. I think you have to play in the film room, and you have to look at the team and say, that's not acceptable. Meet your new starting cornerback, AZ Thomas. That's how it has to play out.
Yeah, and I get it. Like AZ Thomas missed some time in training camp in the preseason with an injury, but at least he tries. He's going to give you an effort.
I'll use stickers instead. I don't care. If you slack on a play, if you slack and give up on a play, you're out. Especially we can afford to do it. We're not a playoff team anyway. So this is the time to build the culture. This is the time to draw the lines. This is the time when if it what's going to cost you the game, who cares? Is there anyone left that still believes this team's going to do anything this year? I mean, let's be serious. What we're looking for is growth. We're looking for change. There's no reality of playoffs. I'm sorry, people, but it's just not. There's no reality of that. And if I'm wrong, great. I'll be the happiest one to be wrong.
Yeah, AZ Frankie chimes in and says Lazard and Stevens taking plays off dead roster spots. That's what it feels like. I mean, for Stevens, he stopped running at like the 21-yard line for that James Cook touchdown, which is just, again, unacceptable.
Lazard with everything they have 100% on every play.
Yeah. And with Lazard, his calling card, he's supposed to be a good blocker. That's why he's here. He's a big receiver, supposed to be a good blocker, should fill in for Josh Reynolds. The effort that he gave trying to block a corner in Trey White was just so embarrassing, and it blows the play up in the backfield. And you're like, what are you doing here? What, like, you drop every pass. He leads the league in drop percentage each of the last 2 seasons. And you're supposed to be this great run blocker. Why are you here? Why are you on this roster if you're not going to give the effort as a blocker? What are we doing here?
It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, you know, we're not going to see it right away, but if week 8 we're 2-6 or whatever it is, if it's as disastrous as we think it could be, if that happens, then I think you're going to start seeing guys like that. They're going to just start benching them and getting rid of them now because they're not going to be part of the future anyway. So that's when you're going to. Right now, there's still a glimpse of hope. Obviously, it's only 2 games, so they're still going to be trying and doing everything they can. But I think that when that hope goes away, if that hope slips out of reach, if playoffs slip out of reach, that's when you're going to start seeing you took a playoff, you're benched because there's nothing to lose. Lazard's gone. This is last year anyway, right? So there's nothing to lose. Yeah. And if he slacks off another play, I would go as far as cutting him at once. If I'm 2-8 and he does that play, I'm cutting him out of the locker room, like not even existing in the locker room, letting the players know you don't get to be a New York Jet if with this nonsense. You know, right now they're not going to do that because, you know, what are you going to do? You can start throwing all these players away. Unfortunately, we put ourselves in a position where we don't have any depth, you know. Although you can bench Stevens for sure.
Yeah, I think that to him or Tony Adams has got to be the next move on the defense. And, you know, slightly off topic, but I've been pretty disappointed with the play of both Jamie Sherwood and Michael Carter on the defense. I think those were 2 guys that, you know, you got to rely on to have a good defense this year. And, you know, we're talking about, I'm not saying bench either one of those 2 guys yet, but just on the conversation of Brandon Stevens not living up to expectation, Tony Adams not playing at a starting caliber level, the play from guys who are supposed to be good starters for you also hasn't been good enough either.
Yeah, at least Michael Carter's making the effort, though. We saw that live.
Yeah, sure.
He's playing like a linebacker. He's throwing his body around. You know, he's going to get tested a lot in the passing game because you have Sauce, right? And you can't throw there. And then, you know, if Thomas starts to play well, be ready for it. Michael Carter becomes a target, and you know, it's hard to cover guys coming across the middle, big targets coming across the middle, and quick little routes like that. It's not the easiest thing when you also have a responsibility to act like a linebacker and have to stop the run. I'm not saying that I'm not excusing him for playing poorly. I'm just saying there's gonna be times where a player like that is exposed in that situation, but it's not about effort. And I think first we got to get rid of we have to deal with effort. We have to say, you know, you have to look at Stevens and say that was inexcusable, right? Clemens, that was low football IQ. You killed the team. You put a knife in our back. You know, those things have to be addressed. Tony Adams is very simple. Let Malachi Moore play because even as a rookie, he's not going to play any worse.
No, he won't be worse.
It's not going to be any worse. You may as well see what you got in the rookie. Do we need to draft another guy or do we have a player here? Find out now. Just play him because you're not taking a step down in talent. Like Tony Adams is not a good football player, right? You drafted this guy. You drafted up to get this safety. Put him in now. If he makes mistakes, if he misses some tackles, he's a rookie. It doesn't matter because Tony Adams wasn't that much better. It's not going to change anything about the direction of this organization except give the fans confidence that when a football player is not good enough, they will no longer be on the team. Like, we should not have to watch this guy another season. He's not a good football player.
Yeah, and it's ultra surprising too, because it's not even it's not this regime's guy. Tony Adams was a UDFA from like 3 years ago now. It's not, any of, Darren Muji or Aaron Glenn's guy or Steve Wilkes' guy. He was kind of just here, and they keep riding with Tony Adams. Very strange.
By the way, respond to a client. The Clemens hate is fully warranted. It's fully warranted. Yes, it is. Don't say it's not.
Come on. This is ridiculous.
Warranted. Don't say it. It was 3rd and 19. We were off the field. Okay. Not only did he hit him later than he had to, okay, he pulled back. He hit him high. Helmet. That is just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. What are all the reps for? What's training camp for? It's to learn not to do that. That's one of the things they work on. It's a key, critical, essential thing that our defensive players learn to do. Do not hit the quarterback high. Do not hit them and lead with your helmet. It is very simple. Okay? That is because he is emotionally dysregulated. We saw it when he tried to kill Dawkins after a football game, when he chased him to the locker room. We saw it when he did a freaking stage dive onto a freaking pile of players. This guy is not an NFL football player that should be, or he shouldn't be on a roster. He shouldn't be in a game. He is a killer. So don't say it's not fully warranted. It's fully warranted. Okay? That was a point of the game, but we had not lost yet. Right? The game wasn't over at that point. It was a critical. We needed that stop. It was 3rd and 19. You cannot have play. If it was the first time he ever did it in his career, fine. But this is not the first time this has happened. And this can't keep happening. When is it going to stop? How long are you going to keep putting him on the field and letting plays like that take place? It's just not acceptable.
Yeah, over and over and over again. And you mentioned it in a huge spot. Third, they were off the field. They got to stop. It would have been a long field goal. Buffalo's kicker probably hits it, but it's a 3-0 hole instead of a 7-0 hole. And then, Justin Fields fumbles on the first play after that and gives them the ball right back at the 20. That was the beginning of the game going off the rails. The penalty that Michael Clemens had. That was the beginning of the end right there.
It's so deflating. How many times have we seen that? It's like you cannot give Josh Allen another. It's a turnover. That's what it is. It's a turnover. It's the same thing. You're giving him a fresh set of downs. You were off the field. You can't give Josh Allen a fresh set of downs. You can't do it. How many times have we, turnovers, right? Gibson fumbles the ball. They score a touchdown right away. It's every time. That's what happens. How many times have we seen this? 3rd down and long, we commit a penalty. They end up getting a touchdown later on in the drive. It happens. It's not just the Jets. It's every team in the NFL. It's because in the NFL at that level, you can't give an offense a second opportunity. You just can't do it.
And not Josh Allen.
Yeah, you certainly can't let Josh. I mean, when you get off the field with Josh Allen, it's a celebration, man. It's not easy to stop him. He's a dangerous quarterback. It's a very difficult offense to stop. And now you have 3rd and 19. It's supposed to be success. It's supposed to give us momentum. Okay? It's supposed to be we stop them. Now we have momentum. We feel good. We could stop them. We could do this. And instead, the entire thing flipped upside down and we were deflated. It changed the entire mood in the moment. It's just sucked we never recovered from that penalty. That 3rd and 19 was the game changer. Did you feel like it was like the hot air coming out of a balloon?
That's when I knew the game was over at that point. Because that the drive's extending, they get a touchdown, and then immediately after that you fumble and give them the ball back on the 20. You're down. You blink and you're down 10-0. You can't come back from that against this team. Not against Buffalo.
Yeah, you just can't. I mean, that was still a game at that point. There was still a chance to turn momentum. Football is about momentum, and that just deflated this football team. And I'm not saying it's the only reason we lost, but it's a big reason.
It didn't help.
It's a big thing. But it's also like if you want to imagine the Jets being a championship team, if you watch the Bills play, when they play the Ravens, when you watch the Ravens play, when you watch these teams, when you watch Philadelphia play, when you watch them play at that level, you know what they don't seem to have? Players like Tony Adams and Michael Clemens. You don't see that. You don't see that. Sometimes a guy will make a bad penalty, but it's not the same guy. It's not a guy that does it to that team all the time. right? Like, okay, every once in a while, even in those big games, a player will make a mistake and a big play against them, but it's not the same guy. Clemens, it's the same guy. It's the same guy. It's like we know it. We look at each other when something goes wrong and say, Clemens. Like when it gets predictable, when you see a flag go on 3rd and 19, and I know Greenbean said it right away. He goes, Clemens, right? And he's right. And it was Clemens. When you could start naming it as soon as you see the flag, that's when you know a player has got to go. They've got to go.
You're so right. We'll get into more of your comments. Just want to let you guys know we're brought to you by Sleeper today. Think you know football? Then try to turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Just download the Sleeper app and pick more or less on your favorite players with more stats than any other daily fantasy app. Just choose 2 or more of your favorite players from pregame or live. Pick more or less from the predicted stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money if your picks win. Use promo code O'Leary, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you to Sleeper for supporting the show. All right, we will get back into more of your comments. Johnny Boy has a question, says, if Tyrod plays super good, do we start a quarterback controversy? I think Fields might be out longer than usual because of his epilepsy. I didn't realize he had epilepsy, honestly, but I think it really depends on what happens the next, I'll call it 2 weeks. I'm not going to assume, actually. I don't know if he's going to be back. Obviously, he's not playing Tampa, but for Miami the following week on Monday, they do have an extra day. So there's a chance I think he could be back. But it's going to be really dependent on how Tyrod plays, specifically in this first game against Tampa.
It's going to be very hard for for Fields to lose his job and Tyrod to win the job in one game. That's right. Like if it's one game, regardless of what happens, if he's ready to come back against Miami, they're going to let Fields come back. And since it's Miami, he'll probably play really well. And then this will be all squashed, at least for the time being. If Fields is out for 2 to 3 games, and Tyrod comes in and plays great for 3 games, and we win 3 games. And he's throwing for 200 plus yards, 220 plus yards, over 60% completion rate, let's say, right? A few touchdowns, not a lot of turnovers. If that happens, then we got ourselves a question, right? Because how do you go away from that? You're 0-2. You bring in this guy. I know it's a crazy scenario that's probably very unlikely, but I'm just saying hypothetically, if Tyrod Taylor came in for 3 games because Fields is going to miss 3 games, if that was the reality, and played really well and we went 3-0, I'm just creating a scenario, very unlikely, but if that scenario happened, that scenario is a scenario where I would say, could you really go back to Fields in that situation?
And what's interesting too, after Tampa Bay is a good defense. They're a good team. They have a good defense. The 2 games after that, though, Miami and Dallas look horrible on defense. Yeah. So either that is, you could look at it, if Tyrod's still playing, that's an opportunity for him to put up some yardage and maybe the Jets steal a game or 2 from that. But also on the flip side, if you're looking for a spot for Justin Fields to come back, him coming back against the Dolphins or the Cowboys, definitely better than him coming back against Denver in London the following week. Like that's a tough defense. Him coming back to play against Denver, obviously not ideal, but they have an opportunity here with these next couple games. And Tampa's hard. I don't think I'll be picking the Jets to upset the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, but your 2 games after that against Miami and Dallas, that's a spot for your offense to get back on track, I think, personally.
Yeah, I agree.
We got, I butchered this name, but supercalifragilisticexpialidocious says Baker is going to carve up this defense. With how Baker's played for the last few years, honestly, and with how this defense has looked in the first 2 weeks, it could be a very long day for this Jets defense. They've allowed 30 points in their first 2 games, once against Pittsburgh, the other time, obviously, against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, and Josh Allen, a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. But Baker, he threw 40 touchdowns last year. Like, if this secondary doesn't get right quickly, it could be very tough for them.
It could be. I mean, our pass defense didn't seem to be the issue last week as much,
No.
right? But so I don't know if I mean, I would be more worried than Baker carving it up. Just Tampa Bay is going to carve us up. Like it's natural to think that we've given up almost 70 points, in 2 games. So, you know, I don't know if it's specifically I'm worried about Baker dropping back and just slicing and dicing us. I like AZ Thomas and Sauce Gardner if they both start at corners. I don't know that they're going to be able to slice us up that way, but it's the balance of everything. It's the passes to the tight ends, the running plays, the screen passes, us making stupid mistakes, because a lot of this is about that, right? It's about us not being able to get off the field because we commit untimely penalties. And that's what I'm more worried about. And then, are they going to just copy Buffalo, focus on stopping our run? And if our offensive line and our running game doesn't play like it did week 1 and it chooses to play like it did week 2, we're done.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of, I think, pressure on Steve Wilks turned up the last couple days after their performance. And AZ said it's Steve Wilks is a liability. My Holy King says Steve Wilks needs to kick the can. Where are your feelings right now with Steve Wilks as the defensive coordinator?
The biggest problem is not so much his scheme as much as his players learning the scheme. Like, and there's no excuse for it. I don't care if it's the first year. There's no excuse. The breakdown of communication when we play zone has been just a killer, right? Like it's just, we have guys, we go into zone and they have guys wide open, right? Running free, uncovered completely. The miscommunications, that has to fall on the coordinator. That has to be his issue, right? That has to come down to him. Do I think in some ways he's getting a raw deal when you're stuck having Michael Clemens and Tony Adams playing for you, and this guy Stevens, being treated and brought in and paid all this money as if he's this good player? You have these 3 crappy players. That's not easy, and you have to adjust to that. But there's no excuse for the miscommunication. There's just no excuse that, like we watched it live. We watched guys just come through the zone, like, and just run into open space where there was no one around for a mile. And that accounted for like 3 critical big plays against Pittsburgh that lost us that game.
Yeah. And I feel like he's been very stubborn too. Like hasn't really adjusted anything on the defense. It's like, I'm going to do things my way and it's going to work eventually. And their issues in zone were so apparent where they're trying to pass guys off and no one ends up picking up the receiver, and it's a huge game. I mean, Rodgers threw for 4 touchdowns in that game because how many times did they get, exposed trying to pass coverage in the zone? And, if they do that against Baker, it's going to be really, really challenging. And Tampa has 2 really good receivers. Godwin's hurt right now, but Ibuka, the rookie, looks absolutely awesome. And Mike Evans is Mike Evans. And Sauce Gardner can only do so much. I'm assuming they're going to put him on Mike Evans, but Brandon Stevens on Emeka Ibuka, good luck. I don't think that's going to end very well.
Right. And you know what? Like record aside, how they performed aside, you talk about like what am I concerned about Aaron Glenn? Like what's the concerns? There's a lot of positives still. I'm not giving up on Aaron Glenn, but what are the concerns? The concern to me is we signed Stevens because he's big and he's physical and he can play man, right? And we recognize that Sauce is good when he's physical and he plays man. And then we're getting beat on plays where we're playing zone. Well, then stop playing zone. Stop it. If you can't do it, if they're not ready to do it, if they can't execute, don't do it. Just play freaking man cover. Just do that. Just everybody has their guy, go man coverage. Because zone does not work for this team right now, and we're doing it anyway, and clearly they're not able to execute it. They're not even coming close. Guys are wide open. But I don't understand. Why did we pick up this football player who was crap? He was a very below average CB2 at Baltimore. They couldn't wait to let him go. They had no interest in bringing him back. And we pay him $15 million, and then we don't even use him the way we said the reason we got him for. We got him for because if we plays our kind of defense, which is man, press, he's going to be fine. Well, guess what? We're getting killed because we're not doing that.
Yeah, and that was kind of my next question and point that I wanted to bring up. You mentioned them getting beat in zone. That's more of a Steve Wilkes thing. Aaron Glenn likes to play man. So do you think we see Aaron Glenn get more involved with the defense? Maybe not to the point where like he's actually calling the plays, but him kind of inserting his philosophy a little bit more over Steve Wilkes, because it feels like this is a Steve Wilkes defense.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Aaron Glenn, I'd go to him and say, "Look, I don't, whatever, we get along with, everything's been fine and ever, but I got to tell you something. If we get beat by a big play because we were in the zone again, I'm going to replace you midseason. Like, let's get real here. Like enough is enough. Like, are we trying to win or are we not trying to win?
Yep.
What is going on here? Like if you see something doesn't work, what are they holding on to in their brains? What are they thinking in their brains? How many times did we call out and it ended up coming back to haunt us in week 2 from the first week? How many times I heard Dom C say, we have a linebacker blocking Watt. That's not a good idea, right? And then last week I saw the same crap happening.
The tight end with on the edge, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Alone, blocking a star edge player, blocking Bosa.
Yeah, Mason Taylor got beat a couple times by Joey Bosa.
Right. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. In what world did we think that was going to work? We're surprised by that. Our rookie tight end was not able to block Joey Bosa. Are we surprised by that? That's coaching. That's scheme. That's the fault of the coaching staff. That should never happen. Unless you have a play design that's away from him, that's really quick, that has nothing to do with it, and it doesn't matter, and he just has to chip him. It's stupid. It's really, really stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Why do we know this? This is common sense. You don't even have to be that passionate of the fan. We know you want a left tackle or a right tackle blocking their best edge, right? Not a tight end. Like, this is not freaking brain science.
You might want a tight end to help chip with the tackle, but you're not putting him one-on-one. You're not putting the tight end one-on-one with an edge.
Right. In what world does that work? In what world does that work? In what world do we do that? There's a reason why people play certain positions. Tight end is not a position that's designed to sit on the edge and block Joey Bosa. That's not what they're supposed to be able to do. And now you're going to put a rookie in that position, one that's actually developing as a blocker. Like, none of this makes sense. Like, you're purposely putting mismatches on the field. How is your offense going to succeed in that? I don't understand.
Excuse me. I don't understand it either. Oh, getting choked up on this team. I want to ask you a question, Jeremy. Why do Jet fans hate their good players? Oregon Jets chimes in and says Sauce blows.
What am I supposed to say to that?
I feel like Quinn, Sauce, how many of these guys get shit every week? It feels like, and like Sauce isn't even. He didn't have his best game against Buffalo. He completely shut down the Steelers in coverage in week 1. He was awesome in week 1. Looked like the all-pro Sauce.
How many yards passing did Josh Allen have? People are
$150.
Right. I mean, like, why? Because he gave up a pass? Because someone got a good pass reception against them? I mean, like, is that our expectation now? Like, if you're to be a good cornerback, you're not allowed to give up a pass? Like, are we maybe getting a little like really? Like, every time you see, like, when Garrett Wilson catches a pass, the other team's cornerback sucks because Garrett Wilson caught a pass. The expectation was that Garrett Wilson wasn't allowed to catch any passes. Like, I don't understand what's the standard. Like if you look at like the best coverage cornerbacks in the league, they give up passes. Like, no one's saying that there hasn't been a player ever in history that the cornerback has 0 receptions against. Like, or at least, and not even like that, but like for every game that they have to play an elite level every game. Like, sometimes you're going to get beat. I don't understand. Like, what are we talking about here?
2 catches for 39 yards is what he gave up in this game. PBU. He did have 2 penalties in the game. Like, that stuff. And again, like I said, he gave up a big play when Mitch Trubisky came in. Missed the sack, but why are you sending Sauce Gardner on a blitz who can't really tackle? That's not his strong suit. I don't know. it just drives me a little crazy how a lot of we as a fan base, we talk up like, oh, our favorite UDFAs every year. And like this guy, Brandon Smith, someone I like, even for example, we're going to show so much love to Brandon Smith, but Sauce Gardner lets up 39 yards and the guy sucks. It's a bit much, Jeremy.
I'll take 39 and 2 penalties almost any time, by the way, compared to what, we watched cornerbacks get lit up for 130 yards. Like the guy was trying to cover Jamal Chase the other day, neighbors went off on somebody the other day. I mean, guys are getting beat all the time, and I want to cut down on the penalties and I want to take away the penalties, but like 39 yards, Josh Allen, like, what are we talking about here? Like, what is he supposed to do? And he did it against Trubinsky. Okay. It was a play. It was one bad play. It was like he got beat on a play for whatever reason. It's a football game. It's a career, like, game after game, season after season. I don't care. Even great players are going to have, you could find the lowlights and make a lowlights film of almost any player that's ever played football in the history of the NFL. I mean, we could take all Tom Brady's worst plays and make him look like a terrible quarterback.
Here's another hot take. Tony, the GM, save this statement. If Allard, Green, and Mendoza end up in the AFC, the Jets are not seeing the playoffs for 10 more years. Allen, May, Allard in the AFC East would be a disaster. I'm going to put this one right next to...
Is he talking about Miami getting Allard? Is that what he's talking about?
I guess so. I like Drew Allard.
Why would he have Miami getting Allard? Like, why would he have that? Like, why are we assuming that Miami would get them?
Because Miami stinks. And
why are we assuming that if they end up in the AFC, that one of them is not going to be us? Like, why is Tony giving up the fact that we're not drafting a quarterback? If Justin Fields puts up a couple of more games, like we just saw, what makes you think we're not taking one of these guys? I don't understand. We haven't won a game yet, so we're in really good position for a good draft pick because we haven't won a freaking game. And the way Justin Fields played the other day, you don't think there's a chance we're going to pick a quarterback? Because if this continues, you don't think we're taking a quarterback still? I think we're taking a quarterback. If Justin Fields game 2 is if he has a bunch of those, we're taking a quarterback. And if he has a bunch of those, we're not going to win many games. So I don't see what the discussion is. Look, I would hope that we get a winning mentality and we play like a winning organization. And the issue becomes that we just don't have the draft pick because we win games. But if we lose games, this is not going to be a problem. So, until we start winning games, I'm not going to worry about not getting Allard, Green, and Mendoza. Until we start winning games, I'm going to think, unfortunately, we're definitely going to get one of those guys because we're going to have a top 5 pick, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, and that's a strong case. And look, like Tony has had some good opinions and been right on some quarterbacks in the NFL. But a word of advice: maybe don't speak so matter-of-factly when I've seen the Sam Howell comments and Hendon Hooker comments, and
now JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy's looked like shit through 2 games, and Tyler Shuck can't beat out whoever the quarterback in New Orleans is. It's a bit much. That's all.
And I'm not taking I'm not giving up on JJ McCarthy by any means, but I would hold back on the talk of how great he is at this point because he has not looked good.
And that it could only be one of those 3 guys listed too from this quarterback class. I don't know. We'll see. There's still a long way to go. The 26 quarterbacks haven't looked as good as what we thought they might be, but there's definitely a lot of concern. I think it's because we built it up so much. And now we built up this class so much for the last couple of years. And now everybody's looking at this class. And then of course, what happens? It's just, they're sucking. Let's just face it. A lot of them are just not doing well at all. I mean, Arch Manning leading the way. Sucking. That's been the biggest disappointment, I think, which I didn't think he was coming out anyway in 2026. But after he's looked the first 3 or 4 games, however many they played so far, I feel even more confident that he's not coming out this year.
I think Allard's been fine, by the way. I know people will look at his pass percentage. Look at Josh Allen's pass percentage. Like with Allard, you got to look at the things he can do. He doesn't have a great offense. He's not in the right system. He's not getting separation from his receivers. And I'll argue that all day that you're not really getting to see Allard is not in a great situation to look great. But if you look at some of the passes he's making and some of the things he does and his ability to make it, I love Drew Allard as a prospect. Now, Klubnik from Clemson went from potential top 3 pick to right now doesn't even look like a mid-round pick.
Yeah.
Terrible.
For me, with Alar, he's got to play well against some of these better opponents, like Oregon in next week. I think is a big matchup for him. How does he play against Ohio State? Indiana's a ranked team. Like he's played well, and I like him. Like I don't want it to be like that. Matt doesn't like Drew Allar. I do. I would absolutely consider him, but I would just want to see him having like these better performances against some of these top ranked teams in college. That's what I'm looking for out of him. Now I don't really care how he does against the cupcakes the first 2 weeks of the year.
Right. Good point.
Anyway, but all right, we got time for a few more comments here. Let's give, before we get out of here, our thoughts on this game. Did the Jets steal an upset win against Tampa, or are we looking at 0-3 in the face, Jeremy?
I hope they do, but I mean, I hope they win. But technically, let's be realistic. The way we played, I don't see how you can make an argument that, that the chances are and what it looks like is that we're going to lose because we played like crap. Now we got injuries, so we're banged up. We played like crap. It doesn't look good. If you could say, be optimistic, be positive. I am. I'm hoping for the best. I'm rooting. I'm the biggest fan in the world. I love my team. I'm going to be rooting hard for the Jets. I want to win more than anything in the world. But at the same time, if you held a gun to my head and my life depended on it and I had to pick the winner, don't tell me that every one of you is not doing the same thing. You're saying Tampa Bay.
Yeah. No, it is. I'm going to say Tampa Bay too. Unfortunately, with how this defense has looked, I don't trust them going up against, Baker Mayfield and what they've been doing offensively through the first couple of weeks. Now, Tampa's played some close games, so I think the Jets, have a chance to keep it close. Like, I don't think they're going to lose by 20 again this week. But it's hard to go into this game feeling great about it.
The only strength we have that we could go back to, that we can hope for, like the thing that you could always fall back to on this team that's going to work. Obviously, we're losing faith in the defense, is that we're able to hold the ball for 40 minutes, run the ball really effectively, keep the game super, 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 super tight, where, turn those long drives into points, right? And keep their offense off the field, 40 minutes of ball possession, 38 to 40 minutes, like against Pittsburgh, run the ball really effectively. And then maybe in the fourth quarter, the turnover goes to us.
Yep. You got to create a turnover.
Keep it close and get a lucky a turnover or something. Like Will McDonald is still there, right? He comes through, he causes a pressure. They throw the ball, boom, interception. But that's the hope. If you say, how can we possibly win the game? Long sustained drives, running the ball, keeping them off the field, keep the game close, get a turnover.
That's got to be the recipe. Guys, that'll do it for us this week on the show. Make sure you like and subscribe before heading out of here. We'll be back next Wednesday with another stream. But for now, I'm Matt. He's Jeremy, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.